All right, you guys know how we start this whole shebang. Roll call.
Kaya.
Ryan.
Mikey.
Kyle.
And Steven! Welcome back, everybody, to episode 45 of our Elemental Evils campaign, the Mole Master campaign, with the odd jobs for I, the Tempest, Part 4. In our last adventure with our favorite adventuring group from Mole Master, the party was in the middle of the worst remake of Jaws ever, except instead of a shark, it was a polar bear of unusual size. A dire polar bear, if you will. As the Papa Bear from the family of polar bears the party encountered began to descend upon the party, they encountered the largest polar bear they had ever encountered, dwarfing just about everything that they had come across, even the frost giant Marika. It was a brutal battle, with a number of party members falling beneath the claws of such a bear, only to be picked up shortly afterwards. The party reigned victorious. However, were left out in the glacier with no feasible, or at least any perception of a camp to set up. The party had to make do with what they had. So, like in The Empire Strikes Back, the party used the bodies of the dead polar bears, the mother, the two cubs, and the father, to create a makeshift shelter in the middle of the glacier to a rousing success. The party camped for the night, taking turns staring out into the cold blizzard and the nearly pitch black night. With no light sources out here on the glacier, nighttime is nothing but darkness. The party noticed a set of eyes peering back at them. The first one being one set of blue and one eye of blue, one eye of yellow. The second set, much later in the evening, as dawn approached, a large set of blue eyes began to pierce out from the storm. As the party began to rouse from their slumber, the sounds of chewing and eating began to echo into their makeshift camp. The party had attracted the, for lack of a better term, the abominable Yeti. A Yeti towering over even the very polar bear they had killed the night before, bringing even larger dangers their way. A brutal fight was had with the abominable Yeti, nearly one-shotting Rornak. The party, luckily with good use of multiple strikes and a devastating final blow of dissonant whispers from Freddy, caused the abominable Yeti to move no more. Foregoing a short rest, the party trekked across the glacier, making their way ever closer to the monastery of the Yellow Rose. However, the intensity of the storm only worsened as they got closer and closer to the monastery. With nightfall fast approaching, the party decided to press forward and try to get to the mountains and scale it, rather than spending their night out on the glacier. However, these penalties, these failed constitution saving throws, and the ever-growing exhaustion caused Freddy, the bard, to begin to fall behind. As the party pushed farther and farther forward, Freddy fell further and further behind until a pair of hands reached out for Freddy and brought him to his feet. There, with a 0 to a wisdom saving throw, Freddy was led deep into a underground cavern, a almost chiseled set of heat and warmth, a very active Remoraz nest underneath the snow, where 5 eggs have been laid out in this kind of pentagonal shape, with a singular chair in the center of it. This individual has led Freddy down into this nest, feeling warmth and heat for the first time in days. This individual, as the rest of the party notices Freddy being led away into this underground, begin fighting their way back into the storm to try to rescue their party member. We return back now to Freddy. You are underground, warm in this humid, hot space. Heat, actively shimmering off of these large eggs, each one the size of a fully grown man. As you look up from the chair, your senses kind of coming back to you, and you see a strange elven creature. Their body is tall and gaunt, parts of it covered in frost and snow, other parts appear to be covered in strange bits of fur. Some of it growing from the creature, other parts seem to be either sewn on or worn loosely across its frame. The skin itself is a very light, almost white shade of blue, as if every single vein and piece of skin is frozen and iced together. The fingers of this creature are long, dark, almost frostbitten. They hang all the way down to the floor. It's almost as if this creature is propping up its frame with these elongated fingers, almost hanging down like a spider. The face is long, angular, with a smile that reaches from earlobe to earlobe. The ears itself kind of twisted and pointed, like icicles hanging upwards and downwards. And of course, the most striking feature on this individual's long, angular face is the one bright blue eye and one bright yellow eye staring back down at you. And as the party begins to try to descend down into this cave, it moves its neck forward, kind of getting close into your space. The actual head of this creature, almost the size of your entire chest, Freddy, as it gets in close. And I've been watching you, Freddy. You have quite an interesting set of skills.
How long have you been watching?
Well, ever since one of my sons discovered you in the mountains, you and your companions. I hope you didn't mind my son's assistance guiding you to Marika. And as you look, his bright blue eye closes, and it's just this one shining golden eye. Go ahead and roll me an insight check.
Nat 20 for 20.
Looking into it, even without your magical eyes on, the structure of it is the same structure and size of that golden orb. It's almost like a carbon copy, as if it has been placed inside this individual's very eye socket. And this is the individual who assisted with that trap, with the will-o-wisps and the frost spiders.
Oh, yeah, that was cool. From what I've heard of you, it seems like you're not a bad guy. So, I mean, I'm not gonna fight back or anything, so you don't need to be afraid. Not that you would be afraid normally, because it looks like I wouldn't have a chance even if I tried, but just thought I'd set the ground standards here.
The fingers kind of push up the feet and the torso of this creature, kind of flick upwards, being pushed as if its body is now standing on the ceiling a good 20 feet above you, with the fingers still at the ground, although the head still seems to hang suspiciously close to yours. Fighting? No, no. I do not fight. No more than the glacier itself fights you. But your words strike me. I've been gripped with an obsession over you lately. You see, I've been watching, waiting. I'm confused. You are not Strong and hearty like the halfling. You are not fast and dexterous like the ones in masks. So what is it that they bring you to the glacier for?
Well, thank you for the accolades. It really means a lot. But uh, they kind of bring me along because they're kind of stuck with me because we kind of do everything as a group. But I also provide help. I mean, it's always nice to have another set of hands, even if you have to pull their weight a little bit. An extra set of hands can help where three would normally be lacking, a fourth one can come in handy.
The body kind of falls from the ceiling with this like slopping noise as if it's melted off the top, and it hangs down now, the body facing away from you, but the neck and the head never moving. A pack. Ah, yes. A pack takes care of its members. But I don't think it's an extra set of hands that your party requires. I think it is because you are clever. Do you think that you are clever, Freddy?
Uh, to an extent, I think that a large part of what I'm lacking is made up by the fact that I have magic at my expense to improve my efforts. It just makes everything a little bit more convenient.
I love magic. And I like those who are clever. Tell you what, I'd like to test you. Remedy this fixation I have on you. So, let us have a game. You will try to prove how clever you are. And if you succeed, I promise you and your party will stay warm for the evening. You will not fall to the shadow of the mountain, nor its storm. However, should you fail, I will keep my promises to feed the glacier. And you can see, as he's saying this, one finger begins to hover over one of these remoraz eggs, and it plunges through with a sickening, and you hear this kind of high-pitched, squealing, shrieking noise. The heat begins to rise inside the cavern, and there's kind of this bubbling over as the finger begins to twitch violently, and you can almost hear this as you watch kind of the fingers go bulbous, like a spider feasting on something. It pulls it into its form. You see this kind of heat wash over Mival, whose body is now kind of gotten closer. It seems to kind of expand around you, getting wider, no longer spindly, but stretching. So what say you, Freddy?
Um, I mean, yeah. Do you have anything that can like wake me up? I'm really tired and I just feel like you would want me at my A game. You don't seem like the kind of guy that's entertained by someone half asleep.
Of course. And he brings one of these long fingers up to you, like the tip of it almost becoming like a nozzle, and extends it towards you.
Yeah, I suck it.
Go ahead and roll me a Constitution saving throw. Just flat, not with advantage or disadvantage.
19.
19. It is spicy. Unexpectedly so. It is hot. More than any liquor that you've ever had. More than any stew. You just feel your insides begin to heat up, point past the point of comfortability. You feel too hot now for a moment. You feel your entire insides heating up before you exhale and pull back from the finger. And as you exhale, there's almost a gout of steam that. However, with a 19, go ahead and remove one level of exhaustion. You feel that you're not entirely unexhausted, I guess is the word I would use here. You could certainly go for another round.
Yeah, I do want another one.
Go for it.
That just does my movement speed. So I'm just gonna take the risk. 14.
14. The second time is easier than first. You feel your body has gotten more used to it as you suck down more of whatever fluid this is. This strange, protein laden, fiery, spicy bodily fluid. And you feel your exhaustion melt away. You feel awake, alert. You feel the cold on the outside, but inside you are all fire. It's like the cold never bothered you anyway. How do you feel now, Freddy?
Let's have a game.
Excellent. And you see the fingers once again, 4 of them now, spread out, hovering above each one of the eggs. The body pushes back, becomes thin and angular once more as it stands kind of in front of you. Hold on, I have something for this. Give me a second. Ah, yes. Let me test how clever you are. Answer me this, Freddy. An easy one. Tall, I am young. Short, I am old. While with life I glow. Wind is my foe. What am I? As both eyes kind of shut for the moment, you feel kind of the darkness pull around you.
Can I hear it one more time?
Yes. I'll just say it out loud. This one. Oh, where'd it go? Come back. Motherfucker, I just had this. Hold on. Yes, there it is. Nope, never mind. That's the wrong one. Ah, here it is. Tall I am young, short I am old. While with life I glow, wind is my foe. What am I?
I mean, I don't know if you started me out with a low ball, but I feel like the answer to a lot of riddles is fire.
You see one of the fingers plunges into one of the eggs, and there's that awful slurping noise once again. The correct answer is a candle, but I believe fire gets the point across. But let us have another. As you see, another finger begins to kind of tense up above an egg. The faster you run, the harder I am to catch. What am I?
Was that? Is that a shadow?
You feel the top finger breaks into the egg. There's a stirring noise. No. The faster you run, the harder I am to catch. I am your breath. And you feel a bit of like wind kind of rushes through and blowing apart some of the broken eggs begin to continue to shatter and break, showing nothing inside but kind of a withered, pulled apart, mangled husk. However, the top bits of the one Remoraz egg begin to pull off. You can see, ever so slightly, bits of insectoid legs begin to reach out from it. Another, perhaps.
Sure.
The maker doesn't want it. The buyer doesn't need it. The user doesn't realize they are using it. What is it?
I'm gonna roll a performance to make it think like I'm thinking about it.
Go for it.
It's a 15. So Freddy goes, uh, Now why would you use it if you don't know that you're using it? Let's see. You know you're using a bed because you have to lay down in it to sleep. When else are you unconscious? Oh, is it the... Oh, is it a coffin?
You see the golden eye opens up wildly and yes! And you hear a as a finger drives through another one of the eggs and that awful slurping noise once again. One last question. One more chance for cleverness. This one is perfect for someone like you. You see that kind of golden eye like goes across you, but instead of that warmth, it's just pure cold. Even with your kind of fiery insides, every time this golden light goes across you, you just feel like if it lingers on you too long, you might develop frostbite. One night, 4 men sat down to play. They played all night through break of day. They played for gold and not for fun, with separate scores for everyone. When it came time to square accounts, all men had made quite fair amounts. Can you, the paradox, explain? If no man lost, how could all gain? And I'll say that one again, just in normal voice.
Yeah.
One night, 4 men sat down to play. They played all night through break of day. They played for gold and not for fun, with separate scores for everyone. When it came time to square accounts, all men had made quite fair amounts. Can you, the paradox, explain? If no man lost, how could all gain?
Am I allowed to ask questions?
You may certainly try.
Uh, this is just kind of me filling it out. Um, was there more than 4 people playing this game?
No. But that could have been.
No, but there could have been.
Freddy, go ahead and roll me an insight check.
11.
11. As Maval pulls himself back up towards the ceiling, the body kind of hanging limply down, the fingers hoisting him further and further up as he kind of pushes his body into the ice. You can see that one golden eye lingers on your instrument for just a moment before snapping back to you. Well,
Uh, man, I don't know. Me right now.
as Freddy, you're sitting there thinking about this riddle. We'll switch back over to the party for the moment.
Yeah, that sounds a good idea.
Party. What is your marching order again? I believe it was Jove, Jasper, Rornak, correct?
I think Jasper had gone ahead and
I
Rornak
think-
and I were behind.
I think I am in the front now, yes.
Because Jasper, like, as soon as she heard Freddy was in trouble, I think cut out ahead.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I remember it, being Jasper, me, and then Jove in the back.
Gotcha. The three of you all held this rope together. Can I have all of you guys make me a strength saving throw?
13.
15.
There it is. 8.
8, you are pushed back heavily, Jasper, as you get closer and closer to the mouth of this cavern. It almost pushes you back. You can feel the wind starting to pick up underneath your feet, pushing the snow under you. You feel yourself losing ground, but with Jove and Rornak behind you and the rope in hand, you're able to stay your ground and continue to push forward. You get further and further, and what really guides you is this feeling of heat. As you get closer and closer, you feel warmth begin to push against your mask. A little bit of feeling comes back to the tip of your nose. As you get closer and closer, this large, steaming hole in the ground just... It's almost humming that seems to come from it. And down below, as you get to the mouth of it, you can see a flicker of golden light moving and then moving away. As the three of you kind of get the mouth of this cavern. You have a moment before you begin to descend, a place where you can hear the howling wind of the storm on the outside and the low hum, that almost kind of glass bottle like noise coming from the cavern. If there's anything you'd like to do to prepare or to conversate with your allies, now would be the time.
Hey, Rory, you don't happen to have any of your potions, do you?
Unfortunately, he's the last that I had back there, and that last little run-in with the Yeti.
I'm plumb out too, unfortunately.
Shit, this is what happens when we let Freddy hoard all the potions. Alright. Well, better in there than out here.
You begin descending. The slopes of this kind of cavern are, unlike the rest of the glacier, which ranges from heavy snowfall to jagged bits of ice. The only smoothness coming from the snow glossing over. This is almost a straight shoot down as your feet begin to slip. Jasper, your feet don't slip at all with your boots of spider walking. However, Jove and Rornak, you two are not so lucky. Can I have Jove and Rornak make dexterity saving throws? However, you are holding onto the rope, and Jasper is a phenomenal anchor with those boots of slippers of spider walking. Do so with advantage.
Sweet. That's a 16 dexterity for Jove.
16 for Jove.
24.
Yeah, you both begin sliding down. Jasper, you watch as Jove and Rornak begin slipping, but they both grab onto the rope and kind of swing around in this big kind of pendulum. It goes from like Jasper, Rornak, Jove to now Jove is at the very front, followed by Rornak with Jasper in the back. As you are holding, you can feel the weight of them both, but they dig their heels in, and you guys are in like this perfect, like 5, 10, 15 from this rope, hanging down, but slowly sliding down. But they both hold on to the rope, and Jove, looking down, you can see, with your passive perception, a number of jagged bits of ice, this kind of faux wall. It looks clear from where you're standing, but you can see at the ends of it rows of jagged ice reaching out like a pit trap.
Jesus. Would Jove have the balance to be able to? Essentially, what he wants to do is just like get one of his pennons out of his bag and just kind of drive it into the ice, thinking for their way out to have something kind of to jet out on this ice slide. But I'm not sure if he's able to manipulate enough to be able to do that.
Go ahead, roll me a sleight of hand check to like sturdy yourself and drive this in. This is less about the raw strength. This is more about having the nimble hands and body to do all of this while holding on to a rope and not sliding down into these jagged spikes.
All right. Sleight of hand. That's going to be a 13.
A 13. You are able to get all of your gear out. It's hard as you're kind of getting the rope around you, looping it around yourself, pulling everything out of your bag, stowing your spear, just moving it all is taking some time. You're able to get out your tools, but not able to drive it in. So go ahead and make me a athletics check.
And do athletics check. We're looking at a 24.
Well, the 24, you're able to drive it into the ice and get a solid wedge in there. Sturdy, dependable.
And then if from where he's at to the kind of spike pit on the ground, how many feet is that again?
Looking with your sight, you can see it's probably another 30 feet or so. You guys made your way about 30 feet down before you started sliding. And then from where you're at, Jove, it's probably another 30 feet away. So from Rornak, 35, and from Jasper, 40.
He'll call up to Jasper and say, Hey Jasper, with those fancy boots of yours, when you're on your way down, tie down a nice knot on this pinning right here. So if we have to get out in a hurry, those of us without the fancy boots have a little bit of a head start.
Yeah, I can do that.
And then Jove will continue to kind of carefully, like, rappel down, essentially, trying not to impale himself.
Jasper, you begin working your way down. For you, it's easy. Joe, from where you're pinned up at, as Jasper moves, it doesn't even bother you. The problem here is Rornak, who is stuck in between. So as Jasper moves down, Rornak, you begin sliding down as well. Could I have you make another? This one's going to be... This is less about sliding, more about holding on to that rope. Make me a strength saving throw.
Okay. That's a 16.
A 16? Yeah, you're able to hold on and just kind of slide down with the rope, keeping your feet underneath you as Jasper moves down. And you just kind of slide until, Jasper, you've secured kind of the pin. And once again, it is then Jasper, Rornak, Jove, as you guys begin to make your way down bit by bit. Jasper, you would be the first one to kind of reach the bottom, and you see it's this like big, clear bit of ice. It goes all the way through, and you can kind of see. Go ahead and roll me a perception check, since you've got that notorious lap perception.
Catchphrase.
Catchphrase. You can see on the inside what looks like this large, shadowed figure, long, spindly appendages hoisting this figure up. You don't see Freddy on the inside, only the back of this creature, like this large, awful, skeletal hand and spider merged together. What would you like to do?
Sorry, I forgot I was muted. She motions for the others to like be really quiet. And yeah, she will probably draw her axe and shield and just wait for them to catch up.
Can I have, if you'd like to get down there stealthily, can I have Rornak and Joe roll me stealth checks?
Sure.
It's a 16.
16.
It's a 19.
A 19. Rornak and Jove slide up right next to you. Rornak a little more stealthily than Jove. You only faintly hear the clink, clink, clink of his armor.
Oh, I'm
Like-
sorry. I need to roll that with disadvantage now that you say that. So it's either 19 or...
Oh boy.
Oh, a nat 20. So yeah, it's 19.
19. Yeah, you just briefly hear a slight clinkling, almost like a jingle of bells. As your Rornak and Joe kind of... The three of you are kind of at the... I won't say foot, pressed against this kind of wall. You can see the bits of jagged ice sticks out in different places. But now that you've gotten down here safely, you can move to the side. You could feel it's a solid bit of ice. Not feet thick, but certainly would have been able to handle the impact of a full-sized person slamming at it at full speed. Jove and Rornak, you guys roll me perception checks.
Be my passive of 17.
Rornak.
That's a passive 12.
Passive 12. Rornak, you see the same kind of image as Jasper. Joe, with your keen perception, you can just briefly see Freddy, who looks like he's deep in thought. Got kind of the thinker pose going on. Go ahead and roll me insight.
I think I
Insight is
understand.
going to be
Oh, that's
18.
you. Sorry.
18. 18. You can tell that Freddy is pretending to think really hard right now. Whatever he's doing, you can tell that Freddy doesn't have his real thinking cap on. You've seen what Freddy looks like when he's deep in research. That kind of furrow in his brow he gets around the left side when he's actually paying attention. This, all performance. As you see Freddy kind of pretending to be deep in thought. You see kind of the golden light shimmer across his instrument for just a moment before the figure kind of pulls itself up. The long fingers. You can see 3 of them plunge deep into these eggs. One of them pulled up just above this kind of perfectly still uncracked egg, while a final finger rests above this only top part opened egg as this figure pulls its body higher and higher up in the cavern. Only the kind of golden light illuminating here.
Jove is going to, in very, very hushed tones to Jasper and Voronak, say, I think Freddy's trying to buy us some time. He looks like he's deep in thought, but not in that real way, you know. He looks more like he's doing that number 2 in his pants again. So I think he might have his wits about him, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Let's just not.
I love
say
how
that.
me making a stinky in my pants is me having my wits about me.
Yeah, for-
Hey, you're at your best when you have your stinky pants.
it's true.
It is quite charming.
I guess wait for the right moment to strike.
There's those weird egg things, and it's nice and warm down here. So, yeah, I think we should wait for the right moment, but we can't be waiting too long. I'm sure something like that's not gonna entertain Freddy for forever.
I mean, who would?
So, at the right moment, do we take Freddy and do we go, or are we trying to stay here?
As you guys have that conversation, we'll pan back over to Freddy. Freddy, you've got that hard thinking pose on. Roll me a perception check.
Whoa, 19.
19. You have your thinking pose on. You see Maval kind of begins pulling their body upwards. The fingers pose to strike that final egg. The golden eye still spotlighting on you before looking back over to your instrument and then pulling back. But in this kind of quick look around, you can see pressed up against what appears to be a wall of glass and of like glass-like ice. You do see your party members, all 3 of them posed, ready to strike on the other side. You briefly catch eyes with Jove, who looks at you and then begins talking to the rest of the party. As Maval croons, "So, Freddy."
Just to be clear, there was no dealer or other people like sitting down with them to play this game. Is that right? That's what we said before.
No, there was no dealer.
Okay. And this isn't one of those situations where they're like, it's like, oh, they were in debt, and like after this game, they were like, oh, your debts are forgiven, because you said they weren't playing for fun, so this isn't like forgiveness of debt thing.
No. The head begins to kind of twist around, like from the base of the neck, as if there was no tendon holding it together and it could spin freely.
Is this the type of thing where they are not technically in possession of the money yet, but they're playing this game to divvy up some kind of reward or winnings, and they're playing this game to decide who gets what, like they're splitting the pot?
The blue eye opens, and both eyes begin to focus on you. You feel the temperature begin to drop. You ask too many questions. Is it to hide you don't know the answer? Or are you stalling?
I gotta say, I don't know the answer, but I see you eyeing my harp. Do you want to see it?
The eyes go and fixate on the harp. Yes.
Yeah. I'm going to take it out, and then I'm going to start to play it and use my action to send up a firework. It's kind of like big and kind of like a flare, if you would.
Go ahead and give me a performance check.
Yeah, both my performances I rolled a 6. 15.
You send out... What color is this flare?
Red.
You send out this bright red flare, and it... And you hear Maval. A display. Fascinating. As he's watching kind of this display and this flare, Jasper and the rest of the party, you clearly see as the whole chamber lights up in red.
Yeah, I think that's our cue. I think Jasper's
Yeah.
gonna make the move to attack.
Okie dokie. So, I want the three of you to go ahead and, I would assume, roll an attack against this ice wall.
Okay.
Unless there's something you are going to do. Here's what we'll do. Since the three of you are choosing to act right now, I'll have the three of you guys roll initiative right now.
You want me to roll initiative, and then we can start initiative from whatever I roll.
Sure, go for it.
Hold on, give me 1 sec. I'll be right back.
Oh, fuck! Well, we're gonna be starting from the top.
Oh.
Unless Rory kills it on this initiative.
Anybody could do it.
Oh, silly me. Forgot to post to type it.
Mo.
Interesting. Okay. Freddie, narratively, I'm going to let you be top of initiative since you started the flare.
Yeah, I think that's... And then just have Jasper go after me. I think she would prefer it that way.
Ooh, Jove's about to do some Qui-Gon Jinn shit right now.
I'm back. Apologies.
Okay, so as initiative begins, we will say this counts as the surprise round. So, Freddie, you use your action to cause the flare to begin and use the performance to capture Maval's attention. Then we'll move down to next initiative order, which would be Jasper. Is that all right, Freddy, to use your turn that way? Cool.
Yes.
Cool. Jasper, it is your turn. To set the kind of scene from this, we'll say Freddy in his chair is 40 feet away from this kind of wall of ice in the center of this room. The cavern itself appears to have about a 20-foot radius for 40 feet in diameter in all directions, this kind of perfectly circular room. 10 feet in a pentagon shape direction are these eggs away from Freddy. One, two, one directly behind Freddy, and the one that is to the left closest to you, party, are the non-completely destroyed eggs. And you guys are in a line going from left to right, looking at the party from Freddy's perspective. It goes Rornak, Jasper, Jove. Everybody clear on this? With Maval, who is currently affixed to the roof, looking down at Freddy. Or, in this present moment, the giant red flare that he has shot in this chamber. Have I set the scene accordingly?
So is this ice wall like the outer edge of this circle?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Okie dokie.
So there's
Although-
basically no way in unless we bust it down.
Yes.
Okay.
So, Jasper, what would you like to do?
If there's only one way in, there's only one way in. So we're gonna go ahead and pull out the Sword of a King. Let's just make an attack on this ice wall.
Go for it.
A 19 to hit.
That'll definitely hit.
Okay. That is 10 magical slashing.
Yeah, you cleave through a chunk of this ice, and the sword just, like it's paper, just and you slice through and leave like a large slice into it. It's not enough to break all the way through, but you leave a clear cut through it.
That'll be it.
All right, then it is Jove's turn.
Jove is going to test the wall first with just a regular attack with his spear. So the first one will be with the Electrum Spear, and he'll do it two-handed since he's trying to get through something.
Absolutely.
mighty. So the first one is going to be a 11.
An 11. Luckily, it is a wall of ice, so that hits.
Luckily, indeed. Okay, that is going to be for a 9 regular Pearson.
Gotcha. You pierce through the cut with Jasper, and you can see a myriad of like spider web like cracks from that kind of center strike.
Then, not wanting to fuck around with this since we've got our boy sitting in there, he'll use the bonus action to do a level 1 Searing Smite. And then do that second attack here. That is going to be for better. That's a 16.
Yup.
Reroll my piercing using the piercer feat. So that is going to be 6 piercing and 3 fire damage.
You strike through and begin to make a grapefruit-sized hole in this. It begins to melt, and you can see the ice is thinning. It's not broken all the way through. You could definitely get like your hand through this hole, like all the way up to the shoulder, but getting your whole body won't be here yet.
And kind
although
of like,
technically the ice is on fire?
yeah, like the way that I'm gonna like,
This ice is on fire.
and you tell me if this works, DM. I'm kind of envisioning like Empire Strikes Back, Joe, or not Empire Strikes Back, fucking whatever, episode 1. He's got
You're trying
the
to get through the doors into the Separatist
exactly, and
base as Qui-Gon
he's
Jinn and
got the
Obi-Wan.
white phosphorus tip, and he's got that like dug in there, and is kind of like trying to angle it down.
Let's
if we want to play that.
If you were trying to make a complete like circular hole, we'll say with the damage from Jasper and yourself, you've got like looks at GM notes. You've got like 65-70% of this like circular pattern made is like going through and like carving it through. You're not quite there yet. It is still a good chunk of ice to get through. However, it is now Rornak's turn unless you've got any movement, Jove.
No, he's gonna like sit there and really be working on this piece.
Then it is Rornak's.
All right, 2 attacks. That is for a 14 and a dirty 20.
Both will hit.
Cool. He will 2-hand this as well with Earzarn. That's 22 magical slashing.
Joe finishes making the circle, although the ice is still heavy and thick in place. Parts of like the water are already beginning to refreeze up. However, Rornak, you take Earzarn, and it's less of a slash. It's more of you stick it straight through the middle, and then kick with the foot out while you push Earzarn forward, and you push forward in this circular hole of ice. Falls over to the other side. You've created an opening big enough for one medium-sized humanoid to make it through.
Seeing as I have movement, Rornak will go ahead and go on through.
As your foot pushes through to the other side and you feel the ice slip off Earzarn, you just put your foot all the way through, step on the other side, pull the other half of yourself in, and you are now on the opposite side. The temperature in here is delightful. Where it has been cold for days, and here it is warm. It feels like you've almost entered like a nice sauna.
Well then. As I am inside, do I perceive Freddy in all, or the firework, or what would I see immediately?
Go ahead and roll me a perception check.
Yeah. That's a passive 12.
Passive 12. As you move into the room and the flare begins to lose its color, you can see Freddy there with his harp sitting on this chair that seems to have been molded from ice itself. Not actually wooden, but just the appearance. Almost as if it's been colored in something. Seeing around with the 12, I'll say that you do see Freddy in the center here, the red light beginning to fade from this flare as whatever this creature is pressed up against the ceiling, admiring the last bits of this red flare. Its head kind of spinning in place like a pinwheel. And that's what you see with the 12 perception.
Okay. Is this like is this difficult terrain, by the way, or do I still have most of my movement speed left?
You would have your movement speed. This is not an ice tunnel leading downwards into a thing of spikes. This seems to be mostly flattened, smoothed out terrain.
Gotcha. He would use his movement to get as close to Freddy as possible, and then with the bonus action, he will burn a key point for patient defense.
You run over to Freddy and take up kind of a defensive stance, putting Earzarn across your fronts and across Freddy as you kind of run up next to him. And Freddy, you see as like the last bits of your flare ends in. You see Maval's blue and yellow eyes begin to light up this space in here. Rornak sprints over, Earzarn in hand, and takes a defensive position in front of you. As we go back to the top of initiative with Freddy.
Am I tied to the chair?
No, not at all.
Okay. Then I'm gonna use my bonus action first, which is something I don't really do. I'm gonna use Bardic Inspiration on Rory. The reason I used it first is because I'm going to use my action to cast invisibility on myself.
Rornak, you see Spectral Johnny hop on over to you, gives you the finger guns with the sound of the snapping of Johnny's finger guns. Freddy disappears.
And then I'm going to make my way, like, around Naval, in between Rory and where the other two would be coming from.
Yeah, absolutely. You begin making your way there. To the last 20-foot radius. So, yeah, you would be able to get to the hole in the ice wall.
I want to be in between them. I don't want to make it all the way over there.
Then you are directly in between them. Since that makes the outer wall and the radius is 20 feet, then yeah, you move 10 feet towards that way. You are like underneath one of Maval's like long, bitten like spider fingers. But you are not within sight. Then we would move down to Jasper.
Yeah, she doesn't feel super about fighting this thing head on, so I think she's gonna just stay where she is and swap her sword of a king for her shadow axe and shield and prepare to hit something if it gets within range.
Absolutely. Then is Maval's turn, as he looks back down and sees Rornak where Freddy once was. The pack, of course. Fine. No, this won't be the last time I come for you, Freddy. And you see it pulls its body into the top part of this icy cavern. Its flesh begins to melt and sink and claw its way almost through the cracks in the ice. You can see the fingers are the last part to go as its body, with this almost like something being sucked up through a straw through the part of this cavern until only the fingers remain. And with one last, you see it swipes off the top part of that final Remoraz egg. And there's a... And you see from those two remaining eggs, insectoid-like limbs grip the outside of it and begin to watch a creature pull itself up, its body long and white with just little bits of bright orange and red flesh peeking out between insectoid like what is it, chitin? Chitin?
Chitin.
Chitin. Bits of like bright orange flesh. Their bodies steam and writhe in the air as the rest of the eggs begin to break. And the first Remoraz hatchling that Maval awoke begins to lets out this hungried cry and begins making its way towards you, Rornak, as it is going to attempt to bite you with disadvantage.
Indeed.
That saves you from a nat 20 right there.
Oh.
Jesus Christ.
The follow-up. Okay. That is an 8 to hit, unfortunately for me. So, Rornak, you see this creature, its body hits the ground heavily as its many legs. You can hear the sounds of tiny insect-like legs piercing into the bits of ice underneath as it scurries its way towards you. This creature, the size, about 5 feet long, the size of taller than Jove is, rears up, and you can see almost like a king cobra, the sides of it fan out. You can feel the heat coming off of this creature, this wave of warmth, as it strikes out near you, but you put Irzarn in front and it slams its face against the brunt of Irzarn's flat edge and pulls back. You can feel Irzarn's whole body heats up from the strike of touching this creature, and you feel warmth flow into your fingers where you hold Irzarn. So, moving on down from that is Jove.
Jove is going to look through that hole, and I imagine he sees our boy Rornak fighting off of the little buggy guy. And is that 30 feet away?
From you,
30 feet.
it would be 20 feet away.
Perfect. Then he's going to use a scary... He's going to use a bonus action to do Hunter's Mark on the one that's engaged with Rornak. And I imagine that, of all people, Jove would probably have a pretty easy time of chucking a couple of javelins through this hole so he can be right where Jasper is. You let me know if that's a problem.
I will say, while you can get the javelins through to hit this creature, it will receive bonus AC as you're trying to shoot it through a 5-foot hole, skipping by Jasper. And I will say you are not aware that there is an invisible Freddy in your direct line of sight, because he is invisible. So, you, with your knowledge, Jove definitely feels like he could hit this shot.
Yeah, then at the very least, he is going to... He'll go inside the hole, so him and Jasper are kind of like on, either side of the hole, and then from there, he'll throw out, keeping that in mind. If he doesn't feel like he's got a good throw through that hole. He doesn't, obviously, like you said, doesn't know that Freddy's invisible, so you let me know on that. But
Absolutely. Go ahead, Jove. You get through the hole. You feel, since you're not trying to side hook this arm, and you have the ability to give it some height to arc it down, that it won't get any extra bonuses for being on the wrong side of this wall.
Beautiful. With that said, he's got his shield in his left, and he's going to let loose 2 javelins at the one in front of Rornak. So the first one is an 18.
That'll hit.
That's going to be... I'm going to re-roll. Nice. So that is going to be for a sweet 15 there.
15.
For that first one. And then the second one is going to be a 16 to hit.
That'll hit.
Can't re-roll on this one. So that is going to be 12 piercing.
Gotcha. As you drive 2 of your javelins into kind of the King Cobra-like sides of this Remoraz. It shakes, and as it whips around, bits of its blood splatter out around you, Rornak, and you can see where the blood touches. There's a sizzling noise as the ice begins to immediately melt on contact.
Jove will do a quick... ocular pat down of the room. With his passive of 17 and kind of probably hearing Naval, I'm guessing that he sees that he is not on the roof where he once was.
Looking around, we'll say on this turn, you can see Mival's body just briefly, this kind of almost angular skeletal-like skull, looking down at you with one bright blue eye and one white yellow eye, pulls itself like solid and then liquid up and away as the fingers are slowly pulling back up into the roof.
Then he'll just quickly say, Freddy, Rornak, let's make our exit and make it quick.
Yeah, with your 17, the most worrying thing is you see Rornak, you don't see Freddy.
He has been in a situation though where Freddy has hit the invisibility button, so he'll yell that out and kind of stay there, right? Obviously not right in front of the hole, but maybe 5 feet to one side, so that they are well positioned. And with that, I've used all the things that I can do, and that'll be my turn.
You got it. The final egg, there is a breaking noise. As from the outsides of it, you see multitudes of insectoid-like eggs break from it. From out through the top part of it, the head of this young Remoraz hatchling appears, almost wearing the egg, like a togepi, but awful and insectoid. It, and you see it moves its way over towards you, Jove, and is going to try to make a bite, using its newfound life to try to consume you. That's going to be an 18.
18 meets.
18 does indeed meet. Jove, you take 10 points of piercing damage and 5 points of fire damage as it bites into you and rips a chunk of your bicep. Just you can feel it's not just the pain of the piercing through here. As its flesh touches yours, as you feel these insectoid-like legs pierce into you, holding on tight, and it rips away, you can feel this burning sensation. As you can see, bits of where you've been bitten are immediately cauterized. But that is going to be its turn, as then we now move over to Rornak.
Alrighty. Yeah, especially hearing Joe's word on that one, Rornak will go ahead and use disengage for his action, and we'll use our movement speed to go back through where we came with the hole. I don't know if I have the speed to make it there because I know I have to shimmy around the Remoraz.
Make me an acrobatics check as you make a straight dash for the hole.
Gotcha. Nat 20.
Absolutely. You run straight towards the hole. Freddy, make me a dexterity saving throw. As Rornak, you feel the impact of you hitting something invisible, but it doesn't stop you as you just roll that kinetic energy forward, and you see Rornak dives through this 5-foot hole, slides a bit up the kind of entrance, and then right back down, like a half pipe.
10.
10. You don't take any damage, but Rornak has indeed knocked you over. You are now prone.
Fuck.
As you hit something invisible, doesn't stop you. You roll through, hit the other side, slide back down. You see Jasper waiting on the other side, axe prepared to slice whatever comes through this hole that's not one of you guys. Jove, you look over and see gets a chunk of his arm ripped off by one of these creatures on the opposite side. And Freddy, nowhere to be seen.
And then Rornak would shout out to, after going through the hole, just remember the Remoraz. Be careful what strikes. And that's it for him. That's all he can do.
All right, back to the tippy top with Freddy.
I used half of my movement to stand up. The other half to run to the hole.
Absolutely.
I use my action to dash to get there and get through it. And I give Rory a nudge on my way.
Yep, Rory, you feel an invisible nudge.
Very firm nudge.
Very firm
Not trying to
nudge.
push you over, but definitely making a note of the whole pushing over incident.
Then I believe it would be Jasper's turn.
How's Jove looking right now?
He's looking tired, but he doesn't look like he's hanging on for dear life or anything like that. You can tell he's had a rough day, but he's still got a little bit of gas left in the tank.
Okay. In which case, I think she's just gonna go in for a strike against the Remoraz that's right next to him. But we gotta. Their blood hurts. I don't know. You know what? She'll put her axe away and pull out a throwing knife. Oh, but the blood will still hit you. Fuck. I'll leave it to you, I guess. Rory didn't say anything about Freddy nudging him, did he?
Not presently, no.
I did not because it was not during my turn. I would
Then
only do that if I got a reaction for it, I guess. But
yeah, I think she would ask, like, where'd Freddy go?
Silence meet you.
Yeah. She, in which case she'll
I
run
guess
up
Freddy,
and attack
Freddy
the
would respond
Remoraz.
then if Rory won't.
Okay.
I'm here.
You hear from
Alright.
nowhere in particular, somewhere around Dornak, I'm here.
Let's get away from these fucking things. And she will go about 20 feet away because she knows Jove can't move that fast.
Bing, 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 bing. You begin walking up this slippery, icy tunnel. But to you, it makes
she-
no difference.
Yeah. She'll pull out a throwing knife and prepare an action for basically if the Remoraz doesn't have an ally directly next to it, then she'll throw the dagger at it.
Absolutely. Speaking of the Remoraz, the one Rordak that you left didn't like any of that and is going to follow suit. You see, it moves and it goes right up to the wall of ice, and its body just moves through it. The ice melts as it just moves straight through because since it has a burrow speed through ice, and this is an ice wall, it does not impede movement for it. So it comes across the ice wall for another bite on you, Rornak. Jasper, it is within range. May use your held action to throw that knife.
I guess we're sticking around fighting.
Oh, just because you guys want to leave doesn't mean that they want you to leave. These are freshly born beings. They are hungry.
Not a great throw. Does a 12 hit?
Luckily, they're freshly born beings and don't have a ton of armor. Yes, a 12 hits.
Sweet. Only 4 piercing.
Gotcha. You're able to hit this creature with a bit of the old piercing damage. However, that is not enough to stop it from its pursuit, as it is going to make a bite against you, Rornak. This time with the regular rolls. That is a 21.
a 21 would hit, but Ronak will use his reaction to shield.
Nice. Give me some flavor of your shield with Earzarn now.
Oh, it's like with Earzarn now, it's almost like a literal like metal vibration comes out from it, and like the vision of Earzarn like almost looks like it's in like 3 or 4 as it just reverberates and vibrates, and that whole wall just kind of forms around Rornak. as he taps back into some of his old psionics and repels the blast. It's almost like literally like a ting as it just expands around him.
You see this Remoraz goes to strike, and like Madara using that big ass fucking fan, just. And you see almost this mirage of images of Irzarn superimposed over the same image over and over and over and over again. And it spans out, and as the insectoid-like limbs come around and try to grasp for you, it's pushed back by pure psionic force and is not able to find purchase. However, it is still right next to you. Then it is Jove's turn.
Okay, Joe would have seen the Remoraz baby go through that ice like butter. So, oh man, the whole running away thing probably is not going to be the best. That being said, he doesn't want to be caught on the other side here when all of his friends are on the other side.
There's now like a 10-foot wide hole of your hole right next to the hole made by this other Remoraz, so it's like a good entranceway now. However, you do still have a young Remoraz right on you that is currently devouring part of your flesh.
And is it, I'm sorry, is it just the two that we know of right now?
Yes. The two recently or aggressively hatched Remorazes. The other three seem to have been murdered within womb, egg, whatever you would call murdering a creature in its egg before it hatches.
Gross. Yeah. Okay, he's gonna. Fuck, this sucks, but he'll drop his concentration on Hunter's mark. Oh, god damn it.
Is Searing Smite a concentration?
Only while it is burning the individual. If that makes sense. So
Okay.
like, so
I will
when
say,
use
since it was a giant wall of ice, it does not continue to catch fire, so it wouldn't have broken your concentration.
Yeah, because I broke the concentration on that to do Hunter's mark.
Gotcha.
I'd already broken concentration, and the concentration automatically breaks if when I hit somebody with it on that first turn, they save that Constitution. It fails in that regard.
Okey-dokey.
That being said, Jove is going to just back the fuck up. He is just going to back the fuck up and take the attack of opportunity.
Okay. You're going to wish you hadn't done that, because that's 22.
Well, that'll do it.
That is 11 points of piercing damage and 1 point of fire damage. As you back away, and on the other arm, you get a matching wound.
Okay, and then he is going to turn to see the one that he has Hunter's mark on currently that is engaged with Rornak. He is going to loose 2 javelins at that one.
Would you make me a Constitution saving throw then? Since if you still have Hunter's Mark concentrating on, you just took damage?
Yes, you're right, totally. That is going to be a 12.
Mm-hmm.
And then I
Save.
didn't do it for the last time, so I'll just roll a second one.
We'll count that as the first one, so it's saved. And then this is for the damage you just recently took.
That's a crit fail, but, 3.5.
Wow.
Wow.
There it is.
And that's only a 10. So,
A 10 just makes. A 10 is the minimum you needed since it was under 20
Jesus
damage.
Christ.
You maintain
Okay.
concentration, you hardy little halfling.
I love it. Okay. Then he's gonna look at the ass of that whereas throw a javelin number 1 and again, this is the one that has Hunter's Mark and is engaged with Rornak. So the first
Gotcha.
one is going to yeah. Would you believe it's another crit fail?
I would. For you, I would.
For me. So that's gonna be a beautiful 19 for the first one.
That'll hit.
That's gonna be. I'm gonna re-roll. Nice. 1 to a 6. That is going to be for 16 piercing for the first one.
How do you want to do this?
Oh, beautiful. He is just gonna. He's really just going for if it's like flared out like the picture that Mikey put in the chat. He's gonna go for like the center spine, looking at its back, just try and get it right center of mass and try to get it writhing and wriggling, as much as he can.
Absolutely. It drives the javelin straight through the center of this Rornak as your shield diminishes and this Remoras King Cobras itself back out, the maw of it chittering at you. It gets closer and closer within inches of your face. You just see just barely from inside of its throat the tip of one of Jove's spears, as the eyes do not close in their insectoid-like eyelidless existence. Instead, the body crumples forward, and you hear the screeching of claws gripping against ice as its insectoid legs claw inward and scratch into the ice until it drives into its own body. There's a psst as its corpse steams on the ice floor. Jove, you still have your second attack.
Yeah, and feeling the life force leave that Remoraz baby as quickly as it had entered, he'll use his bonus action to move that Hunter's Mark to the one that has bitten him now twice, and do that second one at him. That is a 12?
12 just hits. That is their armor class.
And that is going to be for 10 piercing. And then with that, he had backed up, taken that attack of opportunity, threw the one javelin at the one, killed the one in front of Rornak, tagged this other one. Jove's going to use the remainder of his movement to get out of the ice circle, and try to get as close to Rornak and the rest of the party as possible.
You can make it to Rornak.
And I will say that, Rornak, as Jove gets to you, you see his arms are bleeding like profusely, and in fact, you might be a little impressed that he was able to, pin those two Remorazes the way that his biceps look torn right. And with that, that is a turn well spent.
Rornak, you only get the briefest moments to appreciate Jove's new battle scars as that Remoras comes up behind you, Jove, and with the 22, I'm going to assume makes his strike.
Indeed.
Ooh, that's bad for you. That is 10 points of piercing damage, max damage, 6 points of fire damage.
And you see Jove, as he kind of labors up towards you, not noticing the guy behind him. He falls, and he is unconscious.
You see the King Cobra frills go out as its body wraps around Jove like an anaconda until, for just a brief moment, Jove's features are obscured from you, and you just see the back frills of this. It lurches down, and there's the sound of insectoid-like flesh tearing into halfling body as it grabs Jove in this kind of death coil and begins to feast on him as the consciousness leaves his body. It is then Rornak's turn.
Okay. So this Remoraz, is that then 5 feet within me? Or
Oh,
that's
this is
10?
like right in front of you, Rornak. Like Jove comes up to you and he's like, Rornak, I got it.
Oof. Oof, oof, oof. Man. Rornak, man, I don't got it a whole lot.
Could you imagine if there was 3 more of these things?
It would be actually the worst thing possible. Not a great situation. I'm just worried if I actually do try and strike this, it's going to hit Joe while he is unconscious in it right now, which is not great.
Well, it's either that or let this thing continue to consume Jove.
Yeah, neither of those are great options. Yeah, he'll pick up ears on and he'll go for a strike on it.
Go for it.
First one I believe does not hit. That's an 11.
An 11 does not hit. You go for it and feel Earzarn get too close for comfort on Jove's flesh, and you pull back at the last second.
Yeah, and that is another miss with a 10. He is going to burn a key point to go for Flurry of Blows, and he will opt to do 1 melee and 1 hand of healing on Jove as he reaches out and puts a hand on him with the last.
Go for it. You strike both hands forward, 2 palm strikes. One striking against this Remoraz body, the other one gently touching Jove.
All right. And I will also use the Johnny on that one too. So
Absolutely. I'll roll the con save right now. Remoraz babies don't have great cons. That's only a 12. Which I believe your spell save is 13, Freddy? You're muted.
Yeah, I pushed the wrong mute button on me. I have a mute on my headset and my computer. Okay. 14.
14. Either way, that's a failure. The Remoraz, that is an unsuccessful Constitution save against the Johnny. And then what is the roll for the attack, Rornak?
Yeah, that one with the Johnny, that's a 23 altogether.
Yeah, that'll hit.
What did the Johnny roll?
A 6.
Takes 6 thunder.
It takes six thunder as Johnny pops, and you see bits of its exoskeleton blast off some of the kind of ridges on its back, also dent and move out of place. Thunder damage. That's just 6 straight up damage. And then Rornak, what's the damage for your strike?
Of course. That is going to be 7 bludgeoning from Rornak, and then with the healing, Jove, you are healed for 7 health.
Oh, nice. Thank you.
And then,
Yeah.
Rornak, you take 5 points of fire damage as you drive your fist into the opening made from the Johnny. You work in tandem. There's the first strike. Like Yuji using Divergent Fist, there's the strike of your actual fist as it, like, bludgeons through into the flesh of this creature, and you feel that burning sensation as your fist makes contact with the blood. And then there's a second explosion as the Johnny explodes from the impact of your fist. This one dealing you no damage on the second strike. However, as you pull back, you kind of move some of that energy you have taken from this Remoraz hatchling and funnel it into Jove quickly. And Jove, you feel consciousness return to you. And that was 7 points of healing for Jove?
Yes, 7.
I think that's the most healing you've ever done.
It's
Honestly.
literally the most that I've rolled on Hands of Healing. I almost always roll minimum, so yeah.
Jove, you're conscious again.
Yes.
And Jove, you are not technically grappled. You are now prone, as like you come back to consciousness and move, and you like fall backwards out of the grip of this Remoraz hatchling. You're currently on your back, but you are alive and conscious. That's back to the top, I believe, Rornak, unless you want to move. Think that's your
No
action and
move-
bonus action.
Yeah, no movement or anything for Rornak, so that'll be all.
Freddy.
Yeah. So while I'm still invisible, I'm just gonna position myself like as behind everybody as much as possible. And oh, that's a touch spell. I guess on my way there, I will. Is there a way for me to get within 5 feet of Jove without getting into attack range of the Remoraz?
Make me an acrobatics check.
9.
9. You will have to be within range that Remoraz. However, it will attack with disadvantage. I'll say with a 9. Because you're still invisible.
Well, the problem is that I would be casting Cure Wounds, so I'd not be invisible.
It would be as you're passing to get to Jove, would be when the Remoraz would make the strike.
Then yeah, I'll go over there.
Let's see. Roll with disadvantage. That's a 2.
Then I'll cast Cure
Fucking
Wounds
player
on
helper.
Jove.
Yeah, you skirt around. The Remoraz strikes towards you, noticing your presence with, one of its sights. However, you're still invisible and is still engaged with Rornak, so it snaps in your direction. You can feel the impact of its maw inches near you, but it misses as you put hands on Jove. How much do you heal Jove for?
To get 9 health.
Sweet.
And then I make my way to the back, like I said earlier.
Gotcha.
That's all I got.
Jasper.
I think she's gonna roll up on this Ramoraz and try to get flanking with Joe or with Rory, if possible.
Yeah, there's really not any angle on this creature that wouldn't give you flanking in some way or another.
Okay. Joe. And she's gonna. She's gonna still use the Sword of a King. She really wants to use as much as she can of it before someone takes it away from her. 18 to hit.
18 will hit.
Oh wait, I have advantage. I might as well see if it's a 20. It's not. That's 11 magical slashing.
Legend magical slashing. And then you will take 2 points of fire damage. As you slash into this creature, you slice off one of the frills on its side. It makes this pained, screeching noise and turns its attention towards you, away from Joe for the moment. Anything else from you, Jasper?
If its attention's on me, I'm gonna use some movement to get a move away. I'll utilize mobile to disengage, and then bonus action to dash a little bit, like not the full distance, but like 40 feet or so
Gotcha.
away.
It is then Joe's turn.
Jove is gonna pick himself up as best he can. He is going to try and get a flanking position on this thing because I believe Rornak is still engaged with it.
Yes.
And you know what? Yeah, he's just gonna pull out the Electrum Spear and do a stabby stab for the first one. He has since obviously dropped concentration on Hunter's Mark because he went
Yep.
down. That's going to be a miss with a 9. The second attack. That is going to be a 21.
That'll hit.
I'll use my last use of Favored Foe to concentrate on that and do the extra d4. Be nice. Close to max. That is going to be for 12 damage.
Jove, you will take 2 points of fire damage. And how do you want to do this?
Oh, fucking righteous. Yeah, if it's coming up and screaming and everything, what he's gonna do is in that cobra position is he will take that tip of that spear, thrust it through the bottom jaw into the top of its head, and kind of use his spear to leverage its face directly down into the eye. So he's kind of like doing like a judo shoulder throw, but using the tip of his spear in this thing's fucking jaw as his fulcrum point.
As you flip it over, you can feel the blood of this creature dripping onto your hands, burning them as you hold on to the spear, and there's a loud thum, 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 as it echoes up the cavern wall, and the creature stops moving. We are out of initiative.
Ooh.
Can Jove use that empty vial of greater? You know, he took a greater healing potion earlier in the day. Can he use that vial to try and like scoop up some of this Rimaraz blood that's so toxic?
Sure, yeah. Go ahead and roll me a nature check.
Nature. Ooh, nice. That's a 17.
Yeah, go ahead. You have one greater healing potion sized vial of Remoraz blood. As it's kind of like having hot hands, Jove. As you put like the seal on this, it's like having a hot hands on your person. You could feel it like warm through the glass. You actually have to put it into a cloth pocket so it doesn't begin to burn you. As the heat transfers from the blood to the glass vial, and it takes on this reddish-orange hue.
Fucking dope. And Joe would be trying to kind of, after doing that, making moves to get the fuck out of here.
Oh, we want to leave?
I mean, you could stay.
Yeah, you look up towards kind of the exits, and in the time it has taken, it has gone from kind of evening dusk to black. As there's that howling noise from the wind, and it's just like a sheet of pure, solid black outside. Jove, even with your new acquired dark vision, you can only see so far before the actual physical presence of snow begins to diminish your sight.
Well, folks, you all know how hard it was to rough it out on the glacier. Do we want to try and get some rest in here? Or at least we're out of the elements. I know that whatever the fuck that thing was knows we're here, so that throws an issue. But we should at least take half an hour, But going out there right now, no sun. It's going to be impossible to actually find a good place to get a lean-to going. We don't have a bounty of bear blood and fat and blubber to keep us warm. Afraid we might turn to icicles if we are wandering around out there trying to find a place to pitch a tent.
If we go out there, it's a straight shot we're making for the monastery. I I don't see us necessarily looking for a place to stay if we take off from here. It's a straight shot. Otherwise, it's not worth the risk.
Well, we've got two risks that we need to weigh. We have the risk of staying here and that Naval character coming back and chewing on our bones while we sleep. More of these critters waking up somehow. But even if I did have a perfect beat on where the monastery is, it's pitch black, snowing sideways. I got my bearings a little off when we made our way for this cave in the first place. So, Warnak, unless you know something I don't, now that we're closer to the monastery, as the one who would be leading us, I don't know if I could lead us out there into our own doom, frankly.
Hmm. Um, DM, I know obviously we were caught in quite the storm. Does Rornak have any sort of bearing on where they are, or do you think he would have lost it at this point?
Roll me either a survival or an insight check. Choice is yours.
Insight, it is. That's only a 10.
Looking at your party, thinking of the day, and then you think of the climbing, the exhaustion it's going to take to get up that mountain, knowing that many of the sides are sheer cliffs and that it will be difficult even in the light. I'll say with the 10 insight, you don't feel confident in your abilities to scale the mountain at night.
Yeah. This late of an hour, I don't know if I'm confident about our whole group getting through, climbing through the mountains. Not exactly in the best of spots right now, but I don't know if we got great chances out there either right now.
The one nice thing is that if shit tries to jump us in here, we at least can, see them and fight back. But we run into another set of polar bears or any of that bullshit out there, out on the glacier. I mean, frankly, I think just the elements itself could be enough to. Well, frankly, folks, I'm tired, and I kind of do this stuff relatively often, so I can only imagine how the city slickers are feeling.
Let's call to a vote. All those in favor of staying here, say aye. Aye.
I
All those in favor of going out into the cold night, say aye.
I
Well,
No.
the stays have it. It's settled.
what?
You look
Warren,
back.
you didn't vote, my friend. What are your thoughts? I'm just like you. I've got people up there, and I want to get there quickly, but
I don't really like either option, but I'd say our better bet is probably staying here. At least we have somewhat of an idea of what we're going through. Trying to climb this late at night, I just don't trust it.
Speaking of not knowing what we're going through, Freddy, did you get a beat on that Naval character? He had you in his grips there for a while. I mean, I watched him lead you away. Did he do anything to you?
Joe, if you speak this out, looking around for wherever Freddy's currently at, because your invisibility is still on, I believe. No, wait, you use Cure Wounds, never mind. I wanted that to be there. Never mind.
I mean, everything that you've heard about him is, I mean, relatively true. So,
I guess my question is, in your interactions, do you feel like he's powerful enough to sneak up on us in the middle of the night and
yes.
smote us down? Fuck.
He won't smite us himself. If he does anything, he's gonna find more things to do the fighting for him, but he's not gonna do it.
Oh, he's not a fighter?
That's not his way. He might kidnap one of us, don't get me wrong. But he's not an assassin.
Well, that's comforting.
That's
She
kind of
says
why I
as
wanted
she
to
rolls
push on.
out her bedding.
But yeah, I guess we'll stay in here. So
You all kind of
we'll figure it out in the morning. As I start playing my harp to cast alarm.
Freddy begins casting alarm, snake charming that long bit of string around kind of the domain you guys are occupying for the time being. The heat still presides in here. You can feel from the goopy remains inside the cracked eggs. A fair bit of heat still residing from there, while it's dark now that Maval has left. It is far warmer than many of the places you've stayed, even warmer than Marika's cave with the fire, with these kind of 3 steaming piles of Remoraz goop. 10 minutes go by, and Freddy, you have successfully cast alarm. Mental or physical alarm for you?
Real life alarm.
Real life physical alarm. Gotcha.
Well,
There's ample space in here, ample heat. One nice frozen chair in kind of the center. Although you can see in some places it does seem like it's melting a bit.
I'll take first watch.
I should take a watch, because I got some fluids to kind of lower how tired I was. So if you wouldn't mind, I can take first watch just so I can make use of that alertness.
Certainly. Then I'll take last watch.
Who's taking second watch?
I'll go ahead and take that.
Gotcha. Freddy, Rornak, Jove, in that order. You all begin setting up various states of camp, looking at your sleeping rolls. Some of you closer or farther away from the goops. With kind of a cursory glance, you can see that there's not a ton in here, considering it is a hatching ground for Remorazes and not a place of actual comfort. But it's warm, and there's plenty of space. You know that there's only a 10-foot hole leading out of here that blocks off most of the howling wind and the cold from the outside. Is there anything anybody would like to do before we move into watches? Solid. Oh, Mornak.
Oh no, I was just saying none for me. You're good.
Gotcha. Freddy, you begin first watch. Immediately you feel the urge to lower your fluids. So you head out towards, kind of towards the exit, using kind of the rope that Jove and your party left behind to scale it with relative ease.
The first 10 minutes of my watch be summoning Johnny.
Yeah, absolutely. Easy enough to do. So you and Johnny head towards kind of the cave mouth to go relieve yourself. Go ahead and roll me a perception check.
This disadvantage.
This one is with disadvantage.
14.
You begin relieving yourself. Most of the urine immediately turns to ice. It's this really strange sensation, but also super fun at the same time. Just from the pure coldness here. And as you're relieving yourself, you feel a cold bit of fingers grip around a shoulder. It's heavy at first and then grows light. You feel 2 tiny little legs on a shoulder. And you hear whispered into your ear, "So your pack returned, did it?
I'm kind of surprised they found me as fast as they did.
As am I. But no matter. A pack is strongest when together."
Yeah, especially those 4 guys. That's still racked in my head. What was the answer to that?
The answer was music. They were a band.
Oh.
Yes.
And they weren't playing for fun? That sounds like a shitty band.
Not all music is for enjoyment. At least not from the player. However, I did enjoy our time together. And now, part of me is within you. And you feel this kind of flush of heat. Should you require aid, simply call my name and think of that fire within you. But know this, Freddy, that my aid does come with a cost. But I'll leave that to you. Sleep well, Freddy. And you feel that little bit of weight almost kind of float off of you, like a spider being carried by the wind, and you're left to the cold howling of the storm. Johnny kind of squeaks over at you and kind of pulls part of your ear to look at him and puts his hands up in some confusion.
It's a really long story.
Few cursory squeaks, but Johnny gives you a nod and pats you on the ear. 2 quick little tats, like, a slap of the face. And kind of gets underneath part of your cloak and your neck and makes like a little bed for himself. Keeps his tiny little hands underneath to stave off from the cold. But the rest of your watch is uneventful. Eventually you go and you rouse Rornak. Rornak, during your slumber, you feel your whole body wrapped in red twine. It holds you together, keeps the parts of you from leaking out from leaking. You see yourself at the bottom of the mountain. High above you, the monastery. You begin climbing and climbing. You see a fork in kind of your path. One leads out wide, thin, dangerous. The other, calm and clear, a gentle slope around the mountain towards the monastery. You feel the wind blow across your shoulders, a slight chill, and you feel a bit of that thread pull down that dangerous path, unraveling. And as it unravels, so do you. You feel the hands of Freddy as he wakes you. You awaken from your dream.
Gave me a little bit of a scare there, friend. See anything out there?
Nothing eventful.
Alright, well. Try and get some rest then. As Ronak will go to his station, but keep the augury box kind of close by as he kind of thinks over the dream.
You think over the dream, Freddy. You go to sleep, feeling heavy and full, but not tired. Ronak, you sit with your augury box. You go and you look out into the darkness. Go ahead and roll me a perception check with disadvantage.
Of course. That's a 13.
13. Nothing but cold darkness stares back at you. And you sit and let the howling of the wind wash over you until it drowns out all other noise, and you feel that cold calm, that only being out in nature this far away from everything else. No hustle and bustle of Mole Master, no sounds of sleeping companions. Simply the elements in your own thoughts, which you have learned to quiet in your many years of meditation. And time begins to slip past you until you feel your watch nearing its end. You head back and begin to rouse Jove. Jove, you have dreams once again. However, you are not the active participant in this dream. You watch a scene unfold. It's the city of Flan once again. You see its old, well-worn cobblestone streets. You see the large, expansive Zenitrum estate, only a small walk down from Valjevo Keep. You see the Laughing Goblin Inn. You see the Anderkins with inside, the place you called home for a number of weeks while you stayed in Flan. You recall walking past the Lost and Found's headquarters, seeing its large compound with its barn and its study, and the even larger mansion deep within its treed estate. And that's when the poison begins to creep in. This green miasma that falls over the city. You watch as a small figure darts down the streets, moving from side to side to avoid the poison. And you see a cage. A familiar cage. You see your father. You see your uncle, Granton Welby. shackled and chained on the inside, the poison all around them. And next to them is not you, but Aquila, chained as well, whose eyes meet yours in this unshackled form. You feel that panic rise in you, that anger, that hopelessness, that weakness. And you look at these small, frail creatures inside this cage. You feel the hands of Rornak waking you back to consciousness.
Joe kind of wakes with a start and shakes his head a bit to clear the cobwebs. Anything exciting happen?
Just having some visions. Still kind of thinking over some stuff. Keep your eye out there. I do not trust this place. I just trust it a little bit better than being outside of the cave and all, you know?
Yeah, you can never fully trust the elements here. So give yourself some rest. Try not to
Well,
think too hard.
that might be easier said than done. I have a suspicion Ilmater might be sending me a message, but I'll think on it more before we take off tomorrow, I suppose.
Till then.
Joe of you head to the entrance. Stare out into that darkness. The wind continues to howl. It's a dark abyss reaching out. The sun still not peeking past the mountains. Roll me a perception check with disadvantage.
All right. That gives me a 16.
16. You look out into the darkness. Something moves. At first you think it's low to the ground, but you can see it's just ever so slightly hovering above. It moves with speed. Before it seems to notice you noticing it. It turns to you. Golden yellow, draconic eyes seeking out in the darkness. You see it rush towards you with impossible speed. As it rears up at the last moment before colliding with you, you see a draconic form. Wings spread out from the shoulders. Claws and tail, fully formed appendages. Long tail whipping out against the wind. The darkness makes the colors almost impossible to tell, but for a brief moment, you see a little bit of light begin to build in the mouth. As you begin to feel that need to move and to panic set in, just as soon as it was there, another gust of wind, another flurry of snow. And you find yourself brushing off the snow from your eyes, and nothing but darkness meets you once again. The same howling wind greets your ears. But you can't quiet the beating in your chest. This sense of adrenaline, never ceasing. Thump, 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 thump. As after a time of almost not moving, you see just the bit of sun begin to peek out from the mountains. A dark shade of red clawing its way across the sky. So you're left with some time before you need to rouse the rest of your companions and see this red light bathe the glacier of the White Worm, turning it from a expansive canvas of white to blood red.
And Jove, thinking more than actually saying, wishes that, in a way, Aquila was with him to experience this, to see the beauty out here. And I feel like in these last moments before he knows he has to get up and get around, there's a sense of loneliness that falls deep and heavy on his shoulders. As for the first time in, weeks now? He feels truly alone. That he doesn't have that we inside of him. That something has gone quiet. And just like when a fan's on in a room and it goes off and you didn't even notice how quiet it is now, that it's no longer spinning, Joe's feels that silence. In the context of that dream, he feels homesick.
You feel your eyes pulled toward the sky. That red cascading into now shades of gold and blue and orange. And as if the fan has been clicked on, once again, you feel that same loneliness that you feel towards home reflected in the sky back at you. It's not a verbal confirmation, but it's like a dual loneliness. Like two prisoners on opposite sides of a wall, both aware that they are there, but having no ability to contact each other. As you feel that same longingness for the sky once again. The sky lightens in color, and the morning returns. Jove, you can hear the sounds of some of your companions beginning to stir. As we pan from Jove over to Jasper. Jasper, the dreams come once again. You with those four shadows moving past the streets of Mulmaster, weaving through forest, out through the mountains, through cold snow and ice. Wherever the shadow meets and touches, you are there. You feel that hand reaching up the mountains and descending over a beautiful monastery. And where that shadow touches, you see it turn to gold. Gold all across this monastery. The hand opens up, this golden shadow reaching out towards you. And ever so faintly you hear a light chuckle. A seductive, inviting chuckle. Consciousness meets you once more. The dream fleetingly short. Jasper, you wake with your own chuckle. Instead of the tired sleepiness you feel when the morning wakes, you feel as if you're just remembering a really funny joke, but can't quite remember the punchline. Only the feeling of amusement. As you see Jove begins to come back in from the cold, makes his way past the ice wall. And you both kind of look at each other. Jove, this moment of just still, quiet loneliness, and Jasper, you with this bemusement upon waking. It kind of pans away to both of you with that eye contact early in this morning.
Morning, Joe.
You got your beauty sleep?
Sure did. How'd your night go?
Oh, I'm gonna be honest with you, Jasper. Wasn't the most pleasant of nights. I dreamt of land for the first time in a while. Some things you expect to just fade away eventually, and yeah, that hasn't. Making it worse is Akila. When she saw Marika, something deep inside her, an ancient, unremembered memory was triggered, and there's distance between us now. A chasm that I don't feel like either of us can cross. Jasper, I feel split in two.
I can sympathize with that particular sentiment. I can't say I'm particularly well versed in these types symbiotic relationships, but I don't know. Give it time. Just keep being, I don't know, keep being yourself. You only ever do good things for the people around you, so she'll come around. Maybe she's just going through like a teenager phase.
Aren't you still in your teenager phase, Jasper? I'm just busting
Listen, how dare you?
Sweet Jasper. I think that's a good way to get me up on my 2 feet as we make this long, hard journey today. So, and hey, you do good for the folks around you too. Yeah, count myself among the lucky ones that get to be with you. Think back to some of those times and all the other, shall we say, characters that we've met in Mulemaster, and as the fates would have it, I think I landed with the only 3 other people worth a damn in Mulemaster sometimes. So, no offense to you and yours, of course.
No, I mean, I think there's a lot of people better than me in Master, but uh, yeah, this is a good group that we got going on. That's for sure.
Well, thanks, Jasper. We probably shouldn't burn too much more daylight because we got to get to the monastery today, or else we really are going to be sleeping out on the glacier once again. Make sure you do your stretching this morning because we're going to need to be limber climbing.
Yeah, I'll be sure to do that.
As we begin to move into the morning, let's take a quick 5-minute break to use the bathroom and all that kind of good stuff. I'm going to leave the sound on to switch us to other screen. I'll see you guys in 5 minutes.
All right. I'm back.
Welcome back. Have we all returned?
I'm here.
I am back, yes.
Cool, 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 cool. Excellent. We have returned. Let me start off. Freddy, could you roll me a D100?
I can try. 59.
59. Gotcha. Thank you. We turn back to our party. Jasper and Jove already awake. As you begin to wake your companions and prepare for the day ahead. You can see light is streaming in from the mouth of this kind of cave. What was reds and yellows and orange and blues is now starting to be replaced with that same gray. But the morning is yours.
Alrighty, Warnak. Well, hopefully this is the last little leg before we get towards that monastery of yours. I'm hoping once we get a little bit closer, get our eyes on it, perhaps that's going to be a little more familiar territory than out here on the wild glacier top. So if you know any cool little back ways or easier paths as we go forward, don't go holding out on us now. Fine, keep your secrets.
Keep your secrets.
Ryan, you're muted.
That was my bad there. I'm sorry, y'all. Um, well, I will certainly let you know on any of that if I notice it. It'll probably be a bit more familiar once we start making our way into the actual mountains where the monastery is situated. If you don't mind, before we take off, I just want to counsel with Elmada real quick before we make our way there. Won't take too long. I just want to meditate.
Absolutely. I think we all should take a few minutes, get ourselves packed, prepared before we leave out on this journey.
Rornak, you go to meditate with your augury box. What do you consult a Mater for?
I think first question Ronak would ask is, when it presents itself, do you want me to take the tougher road?
You look down into your box and see the silver coin surrounded by the red twine and the various knickknacks all twisted together, woven. You see a wheel.
Are we going to meet another then, on our way to the monastery?
You look back into the box. And you see all the pieces untangled, spread about in a random order. Wheel and woe.
If we do meet someone, do you wish for mercy to be given or to be taken?
You look back down in your box and the silver coin is once again tangled up in the red twine until only the hands of Elmada can be seen. Wheel.
Very well then. And Rornak will just kind of ponder over the thoughts for a bit more before closing up the box and returning to the party.
You ponder with your insights, going over what it is that Ilmater could be asking of you as you rejoin the party. The gray light from outside beginning to pour into the cavern. You can see the icy wall smooth, carved from the hot bodies of Remorazes in past. But you are all rested. Those of you with the level of exhaustion may remove one level of exhaustion. Freddy, you don't need to worry about exhaustion because you were well fed. You all have yourselves rations and the likes, water that you have brought in, so on and so forth. The day is yours. Party, how would you like to proceed?
Ronak will share real quick too, just his info from his meditation and let everyone know. Well, it may be an eventful day. I'm trying to unpack things, but I have a feeling that we may or may not meet somebody on our way there. I have a feeling that Ilmater might be pulling us, or wishes to pull me towards it. I don't know exactly what it is, but I imagine it is something that the past will be made more clear when we get there. Either way, just be ready. I get a feeling that we've got company. Whether it's good or bad, I can't say.
Right. Well, I guess we'll have to stay on our toes then.
And try not to freeze those toes off. We've got a little bit more to go. We're almost there, though, Jasper, I promise.
And we'll pull 'em out
I
of the
think
room.
she's like just like so bitter at the cold of at this point. She's just done talking entirely.
So, go for it.
I was just gonna say Joe's gonna kind of take out that little bit of sketching and stuff that he had from Marika and spending time looking at that map to try and get a good beat on where they're going today and start heading out.
Go ahead and give me your survival check.
Blatantly. Have the weather conditions changed at all, or is it still sideways?
It's pretty snowy out there, pretty stormy.
All right, survival. Come on, nice 15.
15. Yeah, you make your way out of the tunnel using the gear that you had used earlier to help scale up that sliding tunnel. You look around you and you can see only about a mile or so the kind of base of the mountains that begin to lead up towards the monastery of the Yellow Rose. You feel confident in your bearings.
We will travel henceforth.
Absolutely. What's the marching order? Jove leading. Who's-
Probably Jasper following him.
Then Freddy, then Rornak.
Works for me.
Sounds good.
Excellent. You begin heading your way away from the Remoraz hatchling's cave and towards the foot of the mountain. The wind presses down on you, heavier and heavier. The closer you get to the mountain face, the harder it begins to blow. Until there are points that you feel that you have to muscle your way, using bits of cover from the mountain to kind of break up the wind. Can I have everybody roll me a strength saving throw?
16.
16.
Rolled an 11 for a 10.
10.
A 9.
9. Jasper.
17.
17. With that, it balances out. With the party behind you and you guys bracing each other, you push ever forward until you have reached the very base of the mountains. You can see that there are a number of different pathways to take kind of going up. Some look like they involve some sheer cliff climbing but are a straight way forward. You see one path that leads out seems to become like a smooth, rocky outcropping. It will take some time, but Rornak, you can tell that this is a more traveled path from the fellow monks. However, Rornak, you see out to the left a familiar, narrow walkway leading out, going around the outside of the mountains. If we look at that hexagon map I put on there a while ago, you guys are at that very base, that hexagon that says Monastery of the Yellow Rose. You see the slow path goes southward towards like the tip where it says Tomrav, that will gently lead you up the mountain. There is straight up climbing. It's a sheer in some places, but will be a straight shot into the mountain, into the monastery. And then Rornak, you see, almost as if photocopied from your dream earlier, a narrow pathway leading north around the mountain. Less upwards climbings, but a less obvious path moving forward.
And noticing that, Rornak will say, well, from here it looks like we have a few options, but I will say this one here, the narrow path. It'll be a little bit of a trek, but this is undoubtedly the one. I saw this. I saw this in my dream last night. I genuinely feel a pull towards this. And I don't mean the random ghost spirits out on the glacier one. This is more divine.
You're telling me the monk wants us to take the straight and narrow path?
It's
Well-
the less obvious one, but, well, we tend to believe that nothing that's truly worth earning wasn't earned without some work, you know?
I just want to get out of this cold, man. Whichever way you want.
Whatever way you want. Jasper chatters out.
Oh, I told you I trust you, Rornak, and this is what you're feeling. I trust those feelings.
Well, unless there's any major objections, please lead the way, Jove.
Jove, you begin following the narrow path. A lot of it is hugging yourself tight to the wall and kind of shimming around, slowly angling your way up and around the mountain. There are some points that you can see trail off, cliff passages that would lead to nowhere, and some that, should you fall, will be a straight shot downwards. Some places only a meager 30 feet drop, in other places over 100 feet to earthen rocks below. As you all follow Jove as he shimmies across space by space. Can I make everybody have a Constitution saving throw?
Ooh, a sweet 5. Here we go.
That's a 4.
14.
That is a 24.
Everyone DC 15 or below, take 1 level of exhaustion.
Yeah.
The path is difficult. It takes time. The movement is slow. You feel that exhaustion creep into you whilst it was not the worst night of sleep in the hatchling cave, it has been days now since you've gotten a really solid place to rest. You feel that cold sink into your shoulders once more, that tightness in your body. You move inch by inch in some places along the outsides. The wind howls around you. You move closer and closer. Can I get another round of Constitution saving throws?
Brutal.
There we go.
6. There we go.
23.
Oof, that's only 7.
Yeah, that's a 9.
DC 15. Everyone below, take another level of exhaustion.
My speed is now halved.
It gets slower and slower, colder and colder. The wind blows heavier and heavier. It is a struggle, but you continue to push forward. You scale higher and higher on the cliff until there are points that you can no longer see what lies below. The clouds almost covering, making it seem as if you stepped off, you would land on a solid bed of clouds rather than fall through. But Jove, a stray rock bounces off from where your ankle's at, and you see it plunge through the clouds, leaving a sizable pocket. But you never hear it hit the ground. You move, hugging the wall of this mountain tighter and tighter, almost looking like the Hobbit and the dwarves as they pass through the mountains. The cold, the snow, you feel the tiredness in your bones, your party slowing down. Until you get around the side of a mountain, and you feel almost like you've pushed past a barrier. There's almost this cool breeze that washes over you, chilling you for just a second. And then silence. The wind no longer howls. It feels gentle up here. There's almost the slight bit of warmth as clear, unadulterated sunlight bathes down on you, Jove, as you push past this ring of clouds. The rest of your party slowly but surely making their way out, and you all feel kind of the warmth of this light. However, it does not lead you onto a flat plateau looking at the monastery. Instead, you see a small, what looks like pathway into the stone reaches further on inwards, going almost down into the mountain for a second before climbing its way back up. Jove, you begin following down this path until it hits a dead end. And there you see a number of stones that lead up through this small kind of cavern until the top of it just breaches out into the open air. And you see that there is a small offering plate with the remnants of something burned on the inside. It appears as if a small shrine has been erected on the outside of this mountain. The rest of you kind of follow Jove down this path until you're out away from the elements, get a chance to lean against the walls, sit down for the first time in hours, no longer with the wind clawing at your back, no longer the howling dogging your every steps, and no longer the blistering cold biting at whatever little bits of flesh you have exposed. You have a moment of respite in this strange altar that doesn't seem to be any markings, any notes. And Rornak, as you're kind of looking around with your passive perception, you notice no symbols of Ilmater here. Yet clearly something has been burnt in offering. Could I have investigations or religion checks for the party? Choice is yours.
18 invest.
18.
22 religion.
22 religion.
11 investigation.
15 religion.
Team religion. Freddy, you looking around at this, begin thinking on kind of the books that you've read, the knowledge that you possess, and looking at this offering, you first think that this is probably associated with Akadi, aka Adi, the Lady of the Winds, a neutral elemental deity. Rare, but not completely extinguished. However, Rornak, this close and in this area, you know that this should be a altar of Elmater. But it isn't. And they certainly typically don't burn offerings till Elmater. You kind of look into the bowl and you can see that there are bits of bones and feathers, bits of nest and eggs, creatures of flight. Jove, as Rornak kind of reaches up, you grabs his hand and kind of hoist yourself up these rocks, careful not to knock any over. And with the DC 18 investigation, you look at where kind of the top of this small altar is, and you have a perfect line of sight to the back of the monastery. You see across the ways, down kind of a small valley and across the way on this plateau, the enormous monastery. A huge golden dome takes up the base of this, larger than any structure you've seen in days. You can see towards the outside what appears to be bits of carved stone, buildings and windows that have been chiseled out of the stone walls. And from your angle, you can see, going even farther up the mountain, hidden in some angles from the dome, what appears to be a large, tall tower. Just as tall as the dome, but just out of sight, raising up above. As you look over kind of the monastery and take in this beautiful sight, you can see that at this level of elevation, there is no longer any storm, but bright, clear sunlight, blue skies, a number of yellow roses, blueberry bushes dot the landscape. And as you kind of look back down to your party, your eyes catch an alarming and familiar symbol of what looks like an arrowhead pointed downwards. A fetish made of bird bones and feathers, pointed down with an arrow tip at the bottom of it. And as you kind of show off this fetish to your party, Freddy with your roles and Rornak with yours, you recognize the symbol, the cult of the Howling Hatred. In service to Yansi Bin, the evil elemental lord of airs.
Oh, those bastards. Well, I'm gonna assume that the monastery's hostile territory now. Ronak says as he's just kind of gripping over Irzarn, kind of letting out some of the frustration a bit.
You can see a little bit of red twine upon Jove. Pulling up this fetish is released back into the air and begins to blow towards the monastery.
Looks like Yavendel was right about cold activity up here. And by the way, Rornak, you never mentioned how beautiful this monastery is. Didn't know what I was expecting, but sure as hell wasn't that. Golden domes and hidden towers.
I told you the place was much bigger than you expected, but yes. In all my travels, there's nothing quite as beautiful as just feeling the air on your face out here. It's peaceful again. Although I fear what's inside now. I can tell you right now, that offering we saw back there is nothing towards a martyr. If we're making our way into the monastery, I'm afraid we can't assume that what's in there is going to be friendly right now.
Well, I was kind of thinking that, considering Yavendell hadn't reported back, so at least it's confirmed now. Perhaps this shrine has something to do with the sudden nice change of weather. At least we can put it together that the unseasonable storms seem to be generating from whatever they're doing up here. And hell, I don't know too much about nothing, but it seems that these elements are most powerful when they are either deep in the earth or in a grotto below or scraping the clouds like we are up here.
It makes sense. I guess I'd hoped that the monastery could hold together, hold out some way. I mean, I'm jumping ahead. We haven't gone inside, but symbol of the cult doesn't make it feel real great.
Well, at least we'll be. I'm, I'm no architect, but it looks like maybe we'll be going in the back way then, Warnack. That's got to be worth something.
Yes. I don't think it's any mistake that this is the sign Ilmater gave us. If we came in the front, who knows what would have happened that way. As rough as it was getting here. Either way. It might be hostile, but if we're going in the back, they might not know we're here just yet, so we have a little bit of time or some leniency to plan, I would assume.
Glad you brought that up. What do you think should be our plan?
Well, I would say we need more. We need info and we need bodies. We're going into this blind, but if we want to save your friend and everyone back at that mine, we need people and info that are in there. So we need to get an idea of the current state in there, and if there's anybody that's left over from the monastery that can help us, whether they're imprisoned or if they fled. I don't know if we can take the whole place back on our own, but who knows. At the very least, though, we can see if there's anybody of importance. We can check and see, again, maybe there's someone friendly or any sign of it. If we can find out what happened to perhaps the people who lead any of the groups, that might give us an idea of where to go or the current state. But again, we're going in a little blind here. I mean, I know the layout. I can help us get around that way, but I'm just worried about what is inside now.
Maybe we can find. You can lead us to, I don't know, some entry point, and maybe I mean, Johnny's been such a good scout. Like when we were back in the mine, maybe he can slip in, and I know he can't go too far off with that whole connection thing. I know how that goes, Freddy, but
I think that's a good idea, though. We can at least get in towards the back and send a Johnny to see what's immediately there. Then we can start planning our way in from there.
and Rornak, what's that tower over there? That's kind of ominous.
Bring up my notes. Did we go over what that tower was specifically, Tom? I don't.
Roll me an insight check.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. That is a 15.
A 15. You start thinking on it. That wasn't there the last time you were here. You know that there's always construction going on in the monastery. Part of the Order of the Chisel's work is to expand the monastery out. A lot of it is usually in the crypts, which you know are expansive, dating back hundreds, if not thousands of years of monks. You know that there are buildings and roofs that are built behind the monastery, but you don't ever remember there being a tower this tall last time you left.
You know, now that I think about it, Jove, what is that tower? I mean, last time I was here, I do not remember anything like that being here. That's quite the feat to build it that quick. I truly don't know. I mean, the chisel's always working on things, but that's usually more in the crypts, which, for the record, if we need a place to probably lie low, those are pretty expansive. Not the nicest place to stay, but if we're desperate, it's something to keep in mind, I guess.
Yes, and there's not any fun little secret entrances into the catacombs or crypts, are there?
May I roll insight on the entrances to the crypts?
You may.
Nice. That is a 24.
24. There are entrances out to the crypt. However, a lot of them are into open air to keep the smells, especially in some areas, from reaching up into the monastery to let it air out from there. It can be done, but it is quite dangerous to try to rappel down the outsides of the cliff of the monastery to come into the crypts. So through 24, you know it can be done, but it won't be easy.
Well, I can tell you by the nature of the crypts, a lot of those entrances are into open air because of the smell, so it could be done, but it's going to be a very dangerous rappel down the mountain to get there. Again, be a bit of a desperate option, but that's what I know.
Well, perhaps that can be a plan B or plan C. I don't know. The fact that you don't know about that tower and it must have been erected in pretty short order. I don't know. I'm torn whether or not we should go and figure out what that tower is first, or clear out the monastery. It's a sticky
Something
wicket.
tells me the tower is I don't know. Only Rory would know something like that, so it feels like a good thread to pull on.
Like I said, though, this tower was not here the last time I was there. That's a new addition.
All I
Bad
know,
feeling about it, but I'm sure we'll find someone in there, to say the least.
and if we do find the leader or what have you of this particular section of the cult, perhaps there's wisdom in going straight for the head instead of having to traipse through the body first.
Precisely.
Could have the wind at our backs, as it were, going back into the monastery. So, but all that said, is this is out of my territory, and Vornak, I mean, your gut feelings or what have you have gotten us to this point to where we can actually make this decision. So, what what do you feel like doing? Because I think I'm with Jasper here, and perhaps going the tower route first. And I can hardly read my tea leaves, much less interpret the will of a god or anything. But I don't know. Had we gone through the front, would we have been able to see that tower? Who's to say? Maybe
Rornak, you would
maybe
know immediately the answer would be no.
I can tell you now, no. From the main entrance, the side of it would have been blocked off. So with that in mind, kind of sounds like Ilmater's twine has led us this way. And the tower's what stands out. I say we make our way there. And if we need to fall back deeper into the monastery, that can lead us from there.
that's solid logic.
So, how are you approaching the monastery?
Sorry, you kind of cut out there in the beginning. What would you say now?
How are you guys approaching the monastery?
With our feet.
Okay.
Well, I thought were we gonna go to the tower?
Sure.
That's why I'm asking you guys.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
the tower.
the plan was to go to the tower since we're coming from kind of a back entrance of sorts. Or back path.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
To get to the tower, you will need to climb up through the shrine and then go down into the valley, approaching the monastery from the side. But if there are no objections, we'll continue forward.
I believe that's the plan.
You, Jove and Nornek, you help Freddy and minimally Jasper get up through this kind of small cave trail and out on top of this plateau. Looking around, you have this kind of beautiful scene of the monastery, the yellow roses, the blueberry bushes that the monastery is known for. And turning around out back towards the glacier, at this height, you can just see that it is a solid blanket of dark clouds that expand out past this kind of ring around the monastery and just cover the expanse. Storm clouds in every direction. It's like you're in the middle of a giant storm, literally. And as you get towards the edge looking down into this valley, it is, in some places will probably need to be climbed down, and other parts you can just walk. You feel the wind begin to stir. Rornak, you see a bit of that red twine begin flowing back towards you. It brushes up against your face and heads backwards. There's the sounds of wind blowing and rattling. And the fetish that was in that shrine begins to rise. And you can see forming on it gets darker and darker, as if storm clouds themselves are getting solid mass. The center of this symbol being like the core of this creature, as a you see the better part of 9 feet, almost like a tornado given solid form, based around this fetish to Jan Sebin. It reaches out 2 funnel-like hands towards you. And that's where we're going to end tonight's session.
Ooh.
Well, congratulations, guys. You have made it to the Monastery of the Yellow Rose.
What a fucking frack.
Hell yeah.
multiple days of travel, run-ins with polar bears, frost giants, remorazes, and fey creatures of unknown origin. You created a construct out of dead bears, sucked down the hot bodily fluids of a fey creature engorged on remoraz fluids, treated with a fellow Emerald Enclave member, and followed the signs of Rornak's god Ilmater, uncovering what appears to be a hidden shrine just outside of the reach of the monster, the Yellow Rose. And as this creature comes to light, we'll wish good night to chat.
Good night, chat.
Good night, chat.
Nighty night, chat.
Good night, chat.
Good night, chat. Thank you so much for being with us here on episode 45 and making it through the Glacier of the White Worm. Much love to you, peace in the Whittle West, and we will see you next Sunday. Toodles.